Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. And I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new day, it's a new life.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Goat Talk Live here on Monday nights and here on V-Speed. We're glad to have you. I'm Eddie Smith, your host, and got Jacob Ellingson. We want to announce something. We're kind of jumping in. Jacob Ellingson is going to be the co-host from here on out. So there is nobody to have on board that knows more about what's going on inside of Goat Locker Racing League than Jacob Ellingson. He's either in the race or he is a part of it in some way. So just wanted to throw that out there. So glad to have you, Jake. And then tonight our driver guest, or I don't even know what this is, just the best of the rest, I guess, is Daniel Cunningham here tonight. So glad to have everybody watching. Going to be a good show tonight. We're going to see. We're going to talk about a lot of things, got a lot on the table. But first off, how you guys doing tonight, Jake, Daniel?
I'm doing pretty good. A few life events happened, on a different setup tonight, but we're doing pretty good. How about yourself, Dan?
Doing good. Ducks won this weekend. Steelers won this weekend. So, can't complain.
Absolutely. Well, for a lot of folks, it's a good college football week. Some of us, it's not going so great. So, yeah. So good for the Ducks. If you're an Ohio State fan, sorry, your quarterback kind of shit a brick. Sorry to curse really early, but man, that was crazy. But a good game nonetheless. And there's no better mascot than that Duck. What do they call him?
Puddles. That's
Puddles, that's right.
Yep, that's his name. He was holding up some pretty good signs in the
Yeah.
background of College Game Day too, and he gave somebody a haircut right behind Nick Saban. So that that kept things interesting.
Yeah, well, and that new game day with Pat McAfee, Nick Saban, that's a pretty big home run. So, good job for ESPN for doing that. If you're wondering why everything's pink, well, if you didn't watch last week, this month is October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So, just kind of give you an idea why things are pink. And but obviously, anybody that has had somebody that has gone through this, obviously it's a terrible disease. Cancer in general is pretty awful, and I'm sure we've all had somebody connected to us that has had cancer. But Breast Cancer Awareness Month, that's why everything's pink. You'll see on the a lot of the races, if you go back and watch some of the broadcasts, they'll have pink cars. So just want to throw that out there before we get started. That's why that is. So if you've got a particular place that you want to donate or anything like that, definitely do that this month. And just wanted to let y'all know why that is. Well, let's get into it. As far as Goat Locker, the nonprofit news this week, nothing major, but so we'll kind of be heavy on some other things this week, which is always good to be fluid in these podcasts. And couple things to go over though is that that Dravic will be at the National FFA Convention with Lincoln Tech on October 23rd and 24th at the Indianapolis Convention Center. So if you're around that area, or if you want to be weird and drive 3, 4, 4, 5 hours to see Patrick Dravic, hey, that'd be a good place to go see him. And hey, it'd be fun to support Goat Locker. So if you are in that area, or if you do want to make some weird 12-hour drive to see him, that's where he would be. And then if you're in Ohio on November 2nd, they're going to be setting up a sim rig at Nassie's Restaurant and Bar, which y'all have heard about that quite a bit. So going to be some cool stuff going on there. Man, the Goat Locker's always doing stuff. As always, while y'all are watching, go ahead if you haven't done it in a while. This is always a weird thing off the top, but I've been wanting to mention this for a while. GoatLockerRacing.org. There is a donut.
Are you hungry, Eddie?
There might be a donut button. I don't know, but click on the donate button, and if you got some extra funds, if you want to help a really awesome cause, there's a lot of great sponsors. We'll talk a lot about those tonight, but Goat Locker is not just supported by sponsors, but also its members and people that you see. So if you're wanting to donate, be a part of it, really cool. Josh Unger has been racing with us the last month or two. He was the recipient of the most recent sim rig. We talked about it last week. We're going to have 2 more sim rigs going out in the future. So you want to be a part of that. You want to make a difference in some vet's life and do something really cool. Donate to Goat Locker, man. They're doing some really, really cool stuff, and be a part of something that is only getting bigger and bigger. It's exponentially growing at a ridiculous rate. So GoatLockerRacing.org, go to the donate button, click $5, $10, $1, whatever it takes. Every little bit will add up. So definitely do that. But thank y'all so much for watching here tonight. And so let's talk about it. Well, it's been a pretty solid week of racing in Goat Locker, but I don't know. Let's start with some other stuff first. Let's start with some NASCAR talk. We haven't done this, and I don't know if we'll ever do this in the future because that's not really what this podcast is about. But hey, let's talk about it now that NASCAR is getting down to the playoff. And you guys watch the race. Did y'all catch the race this weekend?
Yeah, I watched that one start to finish. And I can't say that I was intently watching because your driver was putting on a clinic and kind of stinking up the show. But yeah, he's going to be tough to beat for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm always curious with them though. Is Hendrick is so good in a lot of places, but Phoenix is not one of those places. Historically, since the next gen car, they've been really kind of hit or miss at Phoenix. So I'm confident that Larson's going to make the Final Four. I have a lot of confidence, but I'm just worried about Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Those guys, the Toyotas are super strong, and then of course the Fords have been unbelievable at Phoenix. So I'm not too convinced just yet that it's in the bag, but Larson has been pretty. I mean, he's 33 above the cutoff, and he missed an entire race. So just imagine what that looks like if he didn't miss the Coke 600. Jake, do you watch the race?
I did not. From the bits and pieces that I've heard from everybody coming down, uh, that I can't even remember his name, to be honest, but he got handed down. He got a DQ and qualified, and that put Joey Logano into the playoffs. And news came out today that Hendrick Motorsports isn't going to appeal the DQ, and it's going to stand. So that's about all I know about real racing world.
Yeah, post race inspection, they took I think the top 5 cars and Bowman, so with the playoff drivers as well, and Bowman was underweight, so they have to a certain
Oh no.
yeah, a certain amount of weight. And of course, there's been some video of maybe a ballast that has fallen off of the car hitting one of the curbs. I mean, who knows? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if a ballast falls off; it's still a penalty. But I mean, pretty bad deal there for Hendrick.
Yeah.
I mean, they were sitting there bragging about having all four cars in the final 8, and then right outside the doors of the media center, they were getting disqualified. And honestly, I don't know how y'all feel about certain drivers, but Bowman is one of those that I constantly feel bad for because he is a funny guy. We're always looking for folks that have some sort of personality, and Bowman he's got a really good personality. Out of all the Hendrick guys, I really think he's probably the most the funniest, most outgoing, and he's always on the chopping block, and that's one thing about being at Hendrick Motorsports. Somebody's got to be the worst car all the time. You got 4 cars. It's the best, it's right up there with Gibbs, and Penske is the best organization in NASCAR, and somebody's got to be the worst one. And so it just sucks that Bowman's always kind of on that chopping block.
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit more talent than Hendrick would like to put out there, but it's kind of sucks being the worst of the best.
Yeah, it's definitely not an enviable spot to be in, and it's really hard too when you've got somebody like Byron, who at one point, I don't know if he still does or not, but at one point had like the most wins in the next gen car. Larson's having what is probably the best season that anybody's had in a next gen car so far, and then Chase Elliott is still, he hasn't had the wins this season, but he's been consistently top 5, top 10, and running well. So it's hard too when you've got that comparison. Eddie, it almost makes me think of what we used to have over at JC Motorsports. I was getting smoked by you and Jonah every single race, and then there's me hanging out, in the middle back of the top 10, and it's like, yeah, I'm having solid runs, but man, my teammates make me look bad over here every week.
Yeah, I love that that graphic that people have been sending around. They had the question and answer or something with NBC, I believe, and it was like reading mean tweets or reading tweets about drivers. One of the questions that they asked Alex Bowman, like Google search, is Alex Bowman good? And as you can see his face, he's just like, oh, I'm so tired of hearing this. So, but I mean, bummer for him, but for Joey Logano, I mean, that was pretty amazing to kind of have that awful feeling of missing the round of 8. And now he's right back in it, and I mean, golly, if you're a Joey Logano fan, you got to be thrilled. But also, I mean, for that team, they've got to be thrilled because you know that they can get it done. It's the weirdest thing. These Fords, Penske's just are so good at Phoenix. They just have to get there. And I think the tracks that are coming up for Logano are pretty damn good. So I think, what a great thing to happen for him. I feel like you'd have to be, they haven't had the most speed, but I don't know. It feels like you really have to give Logano a pass. He always can. He's kind of like Kyle Busch. He'll pull one out of his behind and move on to the next round. And he won't be dominant, but he'll win at the right time when he needs to, and then he'll be the champion. So, yeah, it's interesting to see how that plays out. But talking about the round of 8, we got Vegas, and then Homestead, Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville. Correct?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, these tracks, all that round of 8 drivers are good at. This is the hardest round. Do you guys agree that this is the round that's going to be the toughest? Because you got Vegas, which obviously the Hendrick cars are going to be good at, but so are everybody else. And then you've got Homestead, same deal, I think, and then Martinsville, which is sort of a toss-up. What are y'all's thoughts going into the round of 8? Who do you think comes out in the Final Four?
So I was just pulling up the standings here just to take a look. So we've got, I think Larson's going to be in the Final Four. I
Oh,
don't have
definitely.
any doubts about that, especially with how good he is at Homestead. I mean, he could go out there and do the same thing he did at the Roval or Bristol, and it wouldn't surprise anybody. I think Christopher Bell will be in. He's pretty good at Vegas. He's good at all 3 of the tracks. He's won at Martinsville before to lock himself into the Final Four. Something tells me that Denny Hamlin's going to pull it out and get into the Final Four. And then I think my last pick is going to end up being Byron, just because he is so consistent at all of those tracks. And I want to pick Reddick because of what a regular season he had, but man, they just have not had any speed or any luck at all in the playoffs. And then on top of that, he is. I mean, I ain't trying to bash the dude, but he is awful at Martinsville. Like, I've gone to a lot of Martinsville races, and I don't think I've ever seen him finish one of them on the lead lap yet. Or if he has, it wasn't anywhere near the front. So, I mean, I'd like to see him make it, and I hope he proves me wrong. But yeah, I just don't see it.
Well, if I had to pick right now, I mean, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard just based on the playoff points alone for Larson to not put him in there. He's got 33 above the cut. I think Vegas, I mean, he could be like he dominated Vegas before. I mean, they're really, really good there. Byron will be good there. It's still possible that Larson comes out there, even if he doesn't win, and come out of that race with a 50 above the point, the cut or something crazy. I really feel confident that Larson's going to be in the Final Four just because of the season that he's had. But after that, man, it does really get tough because at the bottom you got Logano, but just like I said, I don't know how you count out Logano. They'll win at Martinsville and just jump right in there. But all these drivers, I think, are deserving. I think if I had to pick a Final Four, I'd go Larson, Bell, Byron, and that last one is the hardest one. I agree with you. Reddick has not really shown the speed here lately, but honestly, it's a toss up between Blaney, Hamlin, and Logano to me. I don't know. I would go with probably Blaney or Logano. Honestly, I mean they can definitely win at any of the tracks that we've got coming up. So I don't know. I'm gonna pick Blaney because I think they have one of the strongest teams, and so we'll see how it plays out. What you got, Jake?
You took the words pretty much right out of my mouth. I mean, that was the exact Final Four that I was gonna pick. Definitely Larson. All he really needs to do is just have solid top 10, top 5 finishes. He'll make it in based off of points alone. Byron, pretty solid tracks coming up for Willie B, and I think he'll have good luck, maybe even pull out a win in this next round. I can't pull for Denny. I have a hard time doing that. He makes it there, but he's always choking in the end, and it seems like the storyline of his he dominates through regular season, and once the playoffs start, it's like the choke master just comes out to play. But yeah, I would say definitely Larson, Byron. To go a little bit different, Blaney I believe Blaney would make it in there, and then Logano will pull something out, and definitely he'll come out left field, catch a win.
I think it's safe to say with this round of 8, you could really, I mean, outside of maybe Larson, I think you could kind of throw any of the rest of the 3 in there. It's a really stout round of 8. Chase Elliott's the one that I can't get behind. I don't know what it is about. I'm not a Chase hater, not for sure not, but he hasn't. I mean, Texas, he was able to get the win, but he's just not really in contention of wins, and I feel like you have to be up there battling for wins to move on. But I tell you what, if you're in chat, and thank you everybody for watching. I see y'all being active in chat, man. We appreciate that. That means a whole lot. And y'all being active in chat is a big deal. So keep that up. Y'all keep arguing and talking about your opinions. But I'd love to know, anybody in chat, what is y'all's Final Four? Post it in chat so we can see it. Maybe we'll holler it out later. Yeah, I mean, NASCAR has been really good. I mean, we had a bunch of winners this season. A lot to complain about, but I think NASCAR fans are some of the hardest to please. And I think towards the end of this, I think at the end of the season, we will we'll have a really good season to remember. And who knows, we might see a first-time champion, we might see a two-time champion, or maybe even a 3 if Logano can. Or is he's got 3 or 4, I think. I think he'll be a 4.
He's got 2 right now. He won it in 2018 and 22. He's also got that thing going where he makes the Final Four in even number years, because he made it in 14 all the way through 22 every other year. So maybe that would have been the smart pick for me to go with, just based off of the year.
Yeah, for sure. So I think any of those drivers definitely have shown the ability to go out and win races, and obviously because they all have wins. So, all right, well, that's about all we're going to cover as far as NASCAR. A good idea by Daniel to kind of say, let's talk a little bit about that, and maybe we'll do a little bit of that, especially as the season comes to close. But we want to talk about stuff that's going on in Goat Locker, so we're going to move on to that. But first, I want to start with Daniel, with something we've done with all the guests that we have on this podcast. I don't really know what it is yet. Is it Goat Locker news? Yes. Is it Goat Locker Racing League news? Yeah. Is it going to be NASCAR news? Maybe. I don't know. But one thing we really want to do is learn about our drivers, folks that you see on the broadcast, guys that show up that are part of the league. That don't just show up and leave, that have been a part of this for a long time. We want to get to know everybody on track. And so Daniel, you're on the hot seat tonight. I've kind of went down the road of, whatever you want to share about your personal life. Tell us about you. What do you do? Where do you live? Where are you born? And that type of stuff. So tell us a little about yourself, man.
Well, if it's not obvious by the broadcast, I'm, big Oregon fan. I have absolutely no ties to the state of Oregon. I live on the complete opposite side of the country in West Virginia. But yeah, born and raised here. I don't even know why I'm an Oregon fan. I just started rooting for them when I was in middle school. I think it was because they had all the flashy jerseys, and they, would go out and put up 80 points a game. So I'm like, hell yeah, I can get behind watching this team. So, but yeah, I mean, personal life stuff. Dude, you picked the wrong person to put on the hot seat, because I don't live an exciting life. I work for a financial institution. I work from home. So, all my teammates give me a hard time about sitting around in my underwear all day most of the time. So, I had to get dressed up for the occasion tonight. Yeah. What else did you tell me to throw in there? Hell, I done forgot.
Well, you've hit all the high points. Now you can see behind you, you've got a lot of NASCAR memorabilia, and I know that you're, obviously a massive NASCAR fan. You go to many races a year. So, how long have you been following NASCAR? Who's your driver? Tell us all about that, and tell us a little bit about that stuff behind you.
Yeah. So as far as driver, Kyle Busch, my number one driver, has been for years now. I started watching NASCAR because of my granddad. He passed away back in 1999, but that's still kind of like a way that I relate to him. And something that when he was alive, that we always watched the races every weekend and all of that. And actually earlier this year, in another league that I was running in at the time, I got a win on his birthday, so that was pretty cool. And I got the tattoo to commemorate it too. So we had a little bet going on in that league that if I won a race that season, I was getting a tattoo. So I got big Oregon Ducks logo because I was driving the Oregon car. So that's a neat little memory that I made with him long after the fact. But yeah, as far as driver, KB, but I got a bunch of other ones that I root for, that I collect stuff for. I've got the Bubba Wallace door sitting other side, sitting behind me over here. That's actually off of the 2020 All-Star car when Michael McDowell dumped them. I got a Sheldon Creed piece sitting over here behind me too. That's actually my wife. She's a huge NASCAR fan too. So like, it's not just me getting yelled at by the missus for spending money on dumb stuff. It's the Sheldon Creed piece is hers. I got tons of sheet metal around here. I've got tons of die casts, but yeah, I mean, I got some other guys I root for too. Like, it's mostly guys that I've met at races that are just super cool and down to earth. I know Bubba Wallace ain't a popular driver, but he's one of the coolest dudes that I've met at a racetrack before. Ross Chastain was another one. I met him at Darlington earlier this year, and ever since then, just kind of been rooting for him. SVG is another one. He's a hard dude to root against too. So, but yeah, it's racing's been a part of my family. But we've had the same tickets at Martinsville since before I was born. My mom's had them since the '80s, and we'll be there here in a few weeks again too.
Yeah, I've kind of always been jealous about how much you go to NASCAR races. You're always going, so but that's so cool that you do that a lot. I know, I mean, every time I get to go to races, it's awesome. But so you've got all the Dakar. I mean, obviously you're a diehard NASCAR fan, but sim racing. How did you get into sim racing? How long have you been sim racing? I've known you for quite a while now. We've raced together in multiple leagues and. But how long have you been sim racing? What's your first memory of any kind of like NASCAR, IndyCar sim, whatever started the journey to you ending up here?
So as far as like NASCAR gaming in general, I started with that way back on like the NASCAR 98 games on like PlayStation 1. So I mean, I've been playing them forever, but as far as like with actual sim racing, uh one of my buddies that actually works the same place I work at now, he had been in sim racing long before I was, and he had been bugging me for years to get into it. He's like, "Man, you would love it. You're a huge NASCAR fan." And I just never I never really thought about it. I never really got into it. And then when COVID hit, he also builds PCs and stuff just for fun. It's just a hobby to him. So I messaged him. I'm like, "Hey man, how much to build me a racing PC so I can get started on this? Because I'm stuck here in the house all the time. All the sports are canceled. There ain't a thing to do. I got to have something to do to pass the time, or I'm gonna lose my mind." So he got me set up. He built the PC for me. He actually gave me my first set of pedals and wheel. It was the Logitech G29 or something like that. And I think within 2 or 3 months, I was already upgrading wheels and pedals and triple monitors. And I mean, y'all know how it goes. You start off with the
Fall
bare
down the rabbit
minimum.
hole.
Yeah, you start off with the bare minimum. You're like, I'm just going to dip the toe in. I'm not going full send here just in case I don't like it. And then, like so many of us, you're like, man, I wish I would have just went full send and spent the money to start with instead of having to rebuild everything. So, yeah, and yeah, Eddie, we have been racing together for a while. I still remember the first league win that I ever got was over in Rebels at Gateway in the Xfinity car, and I think you were just as jacked up for me as I was in the voice chat. Man, you were my biggest cheerleader for the last 40 laps when I kept starting to lose focus and all this other stuff. And ironically enough, I think it was the Goat Locker guys that I ended up having to beat because I think Drabick finished second, and I think Jake, you were in that race too. I think. Man, it's been so long
I
ago,
don't,
I
yeah,
can't
I don't even
remember now.
remember it.
But yeah, so yeah, and I mean, I started racing over here in Goat Locker last season with the Friday Night Truck Series, and even though I haven't been racing in Goat Locker for a while, I've raced against so many of these guys over here in other series, and I know they're a good bunch of guys, and really appreciate the mission that they've got, what they do for veterans, and it's I personally wasn't in the military, but I work for a military financial institution. I've dealt with a lot of military members. I know how hard it is for them, what they go through while they're active, and then once they're trying to adjust back to civilian life. And I've had a lot of military members in my family, so just love what they do over here, everything they do for vets, and it's definitely something to get behind.
Yeah, well, and they just got constant opportunities to race, which is always good. And if you're Jacob Ellingson, sometimes having 5 series that you run per week can help when 3 or 4 of them go really bad. So,
Yeah,
Jake,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
been a rough week for you, hasn't it, Jake?
Oh, definitely. I don't think I've had this rough of a week since I started iRacing, to be honest. Tuesday night, I think I wrecked out on Tuesday night. Came back and I at least finished the race. Wednesday night in the next gens, I definitely had a rough time. I think I um, wrecked in the next gens. Tuesday night, um, I think I just made a bad pit call and fell back on Thursday nights, and then uh, Friday night, coming out of the corner, I just missed, 6 inches, gassed up too early, and then just bumped the wall, and then that was my night. And then Sunday night, I just made a bad pitch strategy call, and then ended up falling back to 17. So I mean, it's one of them weeks. Uh, see what we can do to bounce back, but definitely a rough season, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, how'd the races go for you this week, Cunningham?
Not bad overall. I know I had the podium Friday night at Dover. That was probably the most fun that I have ever had racing trucks at Dover. Like I like the track in general, but usually Dover is such a pain trying to set up runs in the truck. But with the way the setup was built, it was a lot of throttle control. You had to really be patient. You could kind of pressure people into making mistakes. It almost reminded me of running Darlington, as weird of a comparison as that is. You had to really race the track and not the other people around you. Um, yeah, that went well. I don't remember what I did in the next gen race. I think I finished in the top 10 in that one. And Kentucky was such a weird race overall because that setup was like, and it was an iRacing setup, so it ain't like, I ain't trying to, talk bad about setup, but it was an iRacing setup, and it like drug the splitter everywhere. And I think the most fun I had in that one was I ended up pitting when a bunch of other people stayed out, and I just decided, all right, let's just throw them up on the dash and see if we can make some moves here. And I think I went from like 17th up to 6th or 7th or somewhere in that area. So that was fun. But yeah, that track, man, I'm gonna put my word in with Jake since he's here now. If we could just not go back to Kentucky again, I would be perfectly okay with that.
I hold no guarantees. I don't even remember what's on all the schedules anymore. We write a lot of them, help out with a lot of them, so I even have to go back from week to week to see where we're racing next.
Yeah, Kentucky's a weird track where 1 and 2 you're almost wide open. It's a lot of 3 and 4s, another mile and a half, and then 3 and 4 is like a 1 and 2. You have to really check up and slow way up, or it gets really tight. So it's an interesting track. Maybe a reason why NASCAR didn't go back there anymore. But I think we all had some good races, and then we had some bad ones, and a lot of guys had some bad races, and when you have bad races, you know what, things don't go your way, and sometimes you have to just vent and let it out. So let's take a look at the soapbox this week and see what we got out of that. Let's take a look.
I hope I don't wind up in this one.
You will.
Oh Lord.
We've run 5 races and you wrecked me, or damn near in 2 of them in practice alone. I know I ain't shit, but I don't need you idiots like you making it worse. Dude dive bombs people constantly and then plays the victim. People get tired of the shit. GLR is the only league I participate in where caution causers don't get an immediate EOL. '99 is terrible. I called pitting out of the carousel out of the next turn. I stayed right to pit and he just plowed through. Total bullshit. You're trash. You by far cannot be talking. Multiple times you were in the way. Should probably look past more than just your steering wheel. If you can even... If you can even see over it by your driving skills, I'd say not. I know some people didn't leave last night feeling so great. Some mistakes were made, stuff happens. But honestly, y'all, uh, at the end was one of the best league races I've seen at Bristol. As a driver and spectator afterwards, to everyone in the league, thank you for that. There were laughing emojis on that post. Damn, y'all laughing at that? Cool. See y'all next week then, I guess. You're something else. Corner coming and you run drivers over. Sick. Enjoy your season. Fucking 25. Had turn 10 locked up and stepped on his dick. Didn't know my foot could go up that high. The 99 is terrible. All right, that's all we got this week. Pretty solid week all along, so not that much to choose from this week, but appreciate everybody giving us the fodder we need for fun little segments that we got going on. And I tell you what, one thing before we get into the races, something that we wanted to do is to have a little GOAT of the week. I think is a new segment that we're going to do. Now, I'm going to type it here. Of the week. There we go. How about that? So you got GOAT of the week. And now, I don't know who y'all have picked, and this is not my GOAT of the week, but I'd have to say whoever this guy is right here, I think is probably...
Yes.
I was waiting on that to make an appearance.
I don't know. He's a definite candidate for GOAT of the week, I would say. But so a new segment we're gonna do is GOAT of the week, and what the GOAT of the week is whoever the guest thought, hey, needs to be shouted out. Hey, this is somebody that is either doing good or has improved or has whatever. It's the guest choice on who the GOAT of the week is. So I'm gonna start with Daniel Cunningham. Tell me who you got for GOAT of the week.
So I got to go back and pull it up here because I had it picked out earlier, but I'm going with Scott Feltz. I wanted to give him a shout out from the Friday Night Truck Series. He started 26th position, ended up P9, so solid run, great improvement over where he started at. And on top of that, he only had 2 incident points in the whole race. And given, it was pretty clean because I think Jamie put the fear of God into us when we had our drivers meeting Friday night. But it was a pretty clean race, but it was easy to get loose and smack a wall or something like that. And it was a clean night for him. So just wanted to give him a shout out for the solid run.
All right, Jake, who you got?
I'm gonna go to the ARCA series in the amateur division. Rusty Rafferty. He's my GOAT of the week. He's constantly stays out of trouble. He's getting solid. He even has himself an amateur win on the season. But he's one of them guys who silently is making his way to better himself in the league, and I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing him race for pro wins this season. So.
There you go. Well, as far as my GOAT of the week, it's going to go to Craig Bontrager, and the reason being is after the race, we kind of have fun with the soapbox where folks are just kind of letting it out, and after the race, somebody just kind of lit into him about an incident that happened on track on Friday night, and so I wanted to give Craig a shout out because he immediately owned up to it. And said, hey, you know what? I did do that, and I did mess up, and I made a mistake, and I'm sorry about that, and I'm sorry that I messed up your race. So, in sim racing, I don't know, for some reason we have difficulties admitting when we mess up, and we admit that maybe we did do that. Maybe that was our fault, and it's hard to do it sometimes. And so, shout out to Craig for just kind of manning up and saying, you know what, I did that, and I'm sorry that I messed up your race. And you know what, that diffused the situation almost immediately. I had no material after that race just because of Craig. So he's the GOAT of the week. He's the GOAT of the week, but he also messed up my segment. There was getting ready to be some really awesome stuff in the soapbox, but unfortunately Craig had to be a man about it and mess it all up. So Craig Bontrager is going to be my GOAT of the week. So looking forward to that. One thing I did want to talk about, we'll kind of go over it a little bit. I don't have anything specific to announce, but something to put on your calendars for the next couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks, is I think we're gonna do. I've done this before in the past, and I think we're gonna have a GLR qualifying challenge. So be on the lookout for the announcement on that. I think Daniel was a part of that. We did it back in the Rebel Racing League. And so we're going to do it as sort of a fundraiser for Goat Locker. Going to be a cool event, similar to the All-Star event, maybe a flip-flop. And it's really cool. It's fun. I don't know where the idea came from. I'm sure I stole it from somebody, but it's a cool idea where you kind of start off. You're in the 87 cars at Talladega, and you're on the hot seat. Everybody's watching. You're solo qualifying. You go out there. We tell you to go. We got a stopwatch like they had back in 1987. I'm going to hit the stopwatch as soon as you go. You drive around the track. You come in to pit road at full speed like they used to. No pit speed limit. Drive in as hard as you can. Come to a complete stop in the final pit stop box, and then go to the start-finish line, and your time will kind of set that up. So be looking on. Well, I'm going to shoot out some information soon, but I'll post a link in the Goat Talk channel after this about it, but we'll have more information coming up. But be on the lookout, set your schedules. Looking to be probably and don't I'm not going to set it out 100%, but probably October 28th when that's going to be. So check your calendars, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. Definitely want a lot of participation. I think what we're going to do is maybe have a race to set the qualifying field, which is going to be opposite of what the All-Star race does. And it's a cool event. We're going to try to make it interesting where it's not, just a boring event. It's going to be exciting, I think. So be practicing. I'll tell you what you do. Go into the 87s at Dega. I'm going to tell you right now, turn the temperature of the track all the way up, because that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be easy. It sounds like it's going to be easy, but I'm going to tell you right now from experience, it is not. So be practicing now. This is your head start. It's going to be fun. It's going to be good for a little fundraiser. Going to be some prizes that be given out. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Daniel, you were in that. I think you participated.
Oh, yeah.
Was it pretty fun? Did you have a good time?
I'm gonna tell you what, that was one of the most fun things that we had set up on iRacing. I'm not even exaggerating when you say that, because it's like what you had said. You think it's easy, right? You're like, yeah, come down, hauling the mail down pit road, stop in the box. Yeah, easy. I can do that. And then if we do it the same way we did it before, then when it's your turn to go out on the track and you got everybody else in the chat with you talking smack the entire time, because that's the most fun part of it, right? Especially when the 99 gets out there and you can tell him how terrible he is. That's like the best part of the entire thing. But and there are strategies to it too. I had a strategy that I thought was going to work and it didn't. I'm not going to say what it is, because I might try to work on it again and perfect it for the next one and see if I can make it work. But it's definitely something that you want to get into. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Jake, you weren't a part of that, were you?
I was not. We did something. We did quite a few All-Star races in previous seasons with DLR here, and we did something similar to. We actually was the exact same thing, type of qualifying to set the field, and yeah, it's interesting to say the least, and it definitely is a acquired skill to practice.
Well, I'm going to try to hold on a second. Let me, I'll do a little bit here, try to get this up so I can at least show it. Let's see if I can nail this first try and not waste too much time with a lot of dead air. Probably not going to be able to nail. Oh yeah, I am going to be able to nail it. All right, we'll watch this together, and hopefully this works out like I want it to. and then we'll give you an idea of what this looks like and what can we expect. It's gonna be a little bit different than this, but this is generally the idea. I don't think y'all can hear that at all. So hang on a second. Well, you know what? We're just gonna wait till another time. I'm not gonna fiddle with this and in during this deal. It's kind of a waste of a time. So I should have been more prepared. I thought I could pull some tricks out of my rear end and have that happen. But I'll post a link later. We'll check that out. But let's move into the races. We've already kind of taken up a whole lot of time, and so we'll jump right in. And we'll talk about that later. I'll post all that information, but it should be fun. But we got a lot of good races this week. I think we'll start with the Tuesday Hidden Wit Brewery Xfinity Series. Both of you guys were in that race. I called the race, so if there's 3 drivers worth talking about it, this is definitely it. I think it was just Kentucky, and I think that if there's one thing we can say about this race is that Drabick dominated this thing. He led 82 laps, and then there at the end had some sort of issue. I don't really know what the issue was. Jake, do you remember?
His computer just shut down. Everything just went blank on him. It gave an error of a download packet loss, but it was something other than that caused the issue. And he got it all fixed. He got it all fixed up, and then went back to his normal Drabick ways of being up front and the rest of the week. He definitely dominated that race.
Yeah, led 82 laps out of the 100 that we had, and it was it was a fun race to watch. Kyle Holden, of course, gets the win, 5th winner on the season, or no, actually 6th winner, 6 different winner in that series. He hadn't made enough races to be in the playoff hunt, but so 6 different winners. Pretty dang good race. What was it like out there for y'all, Daniel? Tell me about your race out there.
A lot of it for me was just trying to think opposite on tire strategy, because it was hard to pass, just nature of the track. It's kind of a flip flop of Texas. Texas 1 and 2, you got to lift a lot. 3 and 4, you can kind of run it wide open. It's backwards of that, but yeah, I never really felt like I had speed to be up front, like in the top 5 or anything. I kind of maximized the day with where I finished at. So overall it wasn't a bad race, but yeah, Pat had that thing in the bag, and it was one of the strangest things. Like the same thing happened to me at Bristol in I want to say it was in the truck series, where like for an entire lap I was the only one on track, and then I came back and I was like 5 spots back of where I was before the connection issue happened. So hate to see somebody lose one that way, man. That really sucks when it's something that's just completely out of your control. It's not even like it was an on-track incident, so hate that for him too.
Jake, what about you, man?
But the first half of the race I was just cruising behind Pat. We were just having a grand old time in chat, cruising along, and then I think there was a caution probably, I want to say around lap 40, 50, somewhere in there. And then that kind of put me behind an 8 ball of thinking something different. And I just piled my mistake, wrecked myself out. Luckily, I got the win on the season to lock me in the playoff. Still looking for them top 5 finish. Expect a lot out of myself. Track. I need to take a step back from that and start thinking more term, for the season instead of.
Yeah, Jake, do me a quick turn that detection down just a little bit so we can. We're kind of losing you every couple sentences or so. Just turn it down just a little bit. But yeah, I thought that race went really well, and of course, looking at the standings, we'll kind of pull those up here and kind of talk about them. Who's surprising y'all? Who, I don't know who you got your eyeball on. We look at the standings here. I mean, Caustic, McElwain, Ellingson, and I think McElwain has really turned on the Jets here recently. I think he came back maybe the third race of this season, and he has been killing it in all the series. It seems like he has been competitive in racing. So I'm glad to have him back. But you got you there, Jake, in third. You got Andy Kurtz with the win, and Chris Sawyer, who's your Daytona winner. So right now, the playoff picture is kind of wide open. You've got Daniel there. You still haven't gotten that win, but yeah, I mean the points. You look like a Kyle Larson there with 32 above the cutoff, which is more than about a whole race. And you got Drabick, Jamie. They've kind of gotten a nice little points deal. But as you get to the cutoff, I mean, you see Lance Ripka there 7 above. Bobby Germain 5, Mickey Isaac 5, Chance Taylor +2, then Brandon Wallace just 2 below, and then Jeremiah Mullins there in that 14th position. He's been somebody I've been trying to pay attention to too. He's been really quick. He's another Mullins. I see Jay Mullins and I get confused, but he's been doing really well as well. That Xfinity series is a lot of fun. I don't know. It's every series is so competitive. It's hard to say which one is most competitive. It's really hard to say at this point because each one of them has really, really good drivers. But I mean, looking down there, I mean, I'm still Chris Sawyer. He showed up, I believe, this week, and so I'm wondering if he's going to stick around and see what he can do. But I don't know. I don't know who has been dominant in the Xfinity series. It's been kind of all over.
Yeah, it seems like a new driver every week. Kind of pokes his head in that top 3 and tries to stamp his name, for this playoff hunt. It's definitely been a wild ride in the Xfinity series.
Yeah, it really has. And even when you look at some of the people that haven't won, like Pat not having a win yet, Jamie not having a win yet, like those are 2 guys that you would expect to, already have one by this point of the season. So that just kind of goes to show how competitive the series is. That we've had the 6 different winners, including the driver that's not playoff eligible, and still got a bunch of other guys that could easily get one before the season's over.
Yeah, and I mean it's after week 6, so we only have 3 races, 3 weeks left before the playoffs start. I mean the regular season only 10 races here in Goat Locker, so I mean, or is it? It's
yeah,
4. Is it 4? Right? Because
four races because it's 10 regular
races.
season
Yeah,
races.
Yeah. Mississippi math right there for you guys. But anyway, so there's only 4 races left, and we can have 4 winners, 4 new winners, and that would just leave 3 spots above the cutoff there for folks. So Daniel, I mean, if you're looking at that, you got to feel pretty good about the point situation. Obviously, a win would be sort of a big big help there. Do you look down the list, and I'll kind of give you that quick rundown of the schedule. Tuesday, I mean, this is we got Richmond tomorrow, Milwaukee, Michigan, and Charlotte. If you're going to call your shot, which I know people don't like to do this, but if you're going to pick one of those 4, where do you think that you can kind of get that win at?
Oh, that's a good question because you just named off 4 tracks that I'm honestly not very good at. And I ain't even just saying that. Like, those are not some of my better tracks. I know you just named them, but I got to pull them up and look again.
Yeah, Richmond, Milwaukee, Michigan, and Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, out of those, I would probably say either Richmond or Charlotte. Milwaukee, I've never really had a whole lot of good luck at, and Michigan, for whatever reason, I run well in everything but the Xfinity car there. It's just something about that car and track combo that I've yet to figure out. So yeah, I would say, and Richmond's even hit or miss for me. Like, there's been times where I've ran there and felt like, man, I could go out here and win this thing. And then there's other times where I'm like, well, I can't say what I was getting ready to say. This is a family show, but like a monkey with a coconut out there. So yeah, I mean, it's tough, and like we said, with all the drivers in there. But yeah, I would say probably either Richmond or Charlotte would be my guess if it was going to happen before the regular season's over.
Yeah. Well, I got to say, I mean, with the addition of Kyle Holden, if he can make it, and I know I'm kind of speaking y'all don't really know him very well, but he raced on a league that I broadcast on Monday night or Wednesday nights in the next gen car, and he is very, very good. And I tried to highlight it on the broadcast how sneaky he is. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna ruin it for Kyle and let y'all know that he is a tire saving fool. And I always kind of watch the Wednesday night races. If he starts to go back, people start passing him, I know what the deal is. It's tire saving time. And the other night he was kicking ass. You knew right away. He dropped 4 or 5 spots on that initial start, and then boom, he came roaring back up there. So be watching out for Kyle Holden. If he can get the minimal amount, I don't know if he can make it or not, but if he can, he's going to be somebody to look out for. But I mean, everybody inside that cutoff line is definitely has the opportunity to win a championship. And I think 2 of the drivers that I have in here with me tonight could possibly be 2 of your final 4 for sure. But Caustic, Michael Wayne, that's going to be a tough, if you're going to get to the championship round, you're going to have to go through Barkus. You're going to have to go through Patrick, Cunningham, Ellingson, Kurtz, Cody, Caustic. Now, Chris Sawyer got his win at Daytona. He hasn't really been a factor. So I think he's going to be one of those that, if I'm just being honest, he hasn't shown the speed, but anything is possible, especially if you get a win. And so I don't know. From a broadcaster, I don't want you guys to pick who do you think because y'all are in the series, but I don't know. If you watch that Xfinity series, it's really competitive, but you see the same drivers up front every single week, and that the guys that have the wins right there definitely the ones to watch out for. So it's hard to say where everything's going to shake up. There's still a lot. There's still, the ability to drop. I'm trying to actually get the schedule pulled up here and kind of look at the stats for this particular season just to kind of highlight who's got what. And as the 2 drop weeks have kind of ended, so after week 6, that means 4 races are being counted if you're not familiar how it works. And looking down here in this list, Michael Caustic right now, who's sitting atop the standings, he has an average finish of 3rd. So that's better than anybody else on this list. So obviously Caustic is very, very good. He was able to get that win, which locks him in, and he is at Bandits. He's hard to beat, man. He's one of those sneaky fast guys. He's not the kind of guy to go in there and just clean you out or dive bomb in the corner. He's gonna give a lot. He takes very little, but a lot of times that plays out in his favor, and that's why he sits atop of the standings currently, about 7 points ahead of Cody McElwain. So who also hit Cody and Cunningham. Daniel actually has an average finish of 4th. So Cunningham right up there with these guys. So it's going to be exciting. Ellingson, you're right behind them. So it's a very exciting to see how this plays out. Going to be a fun one, I think, and maybe even a little surprise here and there. So we move on, like I said, to Richmond tomorrow night. So if you want to watch a great show, Richmond and the Xfinity car are pretty cool. Y'all, Richmond's not my favorite track. It's tough to love. But I think in the Xfinity car, maybe the ARCA car, it's pretty fun, huh?
Oh, definitely. I only got to run a few laps in the Xfinity car last season at Richmond. I had prior engagement with my daughter and a concert, so that kind of took precedence. But when I did run a few laps with everybody, it was an absolute blast, and that's why we threw it back on the schedule this season, and hope to have another great race, because I believe there was tons of green flag racing last season in that race.
All right.
That's the thing that makes it. No, sorry, that's the thing that makes it interesting too. Is like with the tire fall off and everything, that you really can kind of save and try to do something. So yeah, it should be a good one.
Well, we're gonna find out tomorrow night on V Speed, so come out and check that out. That'll be a good race. Maybe we'll get another winner in that series. But let's move on. Let's move on to the next gen. No videos this week. So sorry that we don't have that, but sorry, not sorry. It just, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. So you better enjoy it when you do get them. But the next gen series, I hate to say it because I don't broadcast this one, and I want the ones that I broadcast to be the most exciting. But the next gen is probably one of the most competitive series right now. I don't think there's a more competitive as far as racing and stuff goes than this next gen series, the Cruising Classics on Wednesday night. And there's your standings right there, and you can see Lucas Lyon sits atop the standings with J.J. Moore, Jesse Whittington, Cody McElwain, Logan Surgeon all locked in to the playoff, and then the same players. You got Kostick, and then you got Pendleton, who is a multi-time Goat Locker Racing champion. Daniel Cunningham there in 8th. Jake Collins, Patrick Dravick, Jesse Nekula, and Tyler Justice are your 12 at the moment. But the race this week, pretty good one. I went back and watched it, and man, it was exciting. Very few cautions, only 3 for 11 laps, 2 lead changes, and Cody McElwain gets his second win in a row. But Dover in the next gen, Dover in any car, it doesn't matter. Pretty fun track.
Yeah.
What was that race like for y'all? How did it go from your perspective?
Dan, why don't you take the lead on this one? Because I got to remember some of this stuff.
Well, it's funny because I was just thinking that too. I'm like, man, how did that one go? Because that's like the one out of the last week that I really don't remember. It was challenging. I know that. The car was a handful at Dover. Kostick even made the comment when we were in the team chat that I don't remember the bumps ever being that bad at Dover, and I'm sure part of it was just the next gen and the way that the car is, that the suspension just doesn't have a lot of give to it. But yeah, man, it's every time especially I think it was in 3 and 4. Like every time I was going through there, I was fighting trying to not have the car shoot up the track. So it definitely made it hard to pass. I know Jeremy Gardner ran that when he didn't have any problem passing anybody. I actually messaged him after the race. I'm like, dude, how did you like come up through the field like that? Because I couldn't figure out how to set up a pass on anybody to save my life there in that one. So, and then I think we had what probably would have been a caution in a lot of instances late, but everybody kind of gathered it up and it kind of spaced out the back half of the field. So I think I finished like middle of the top 10 somewhere in that area. But yeah, I'm just kind of glad to get things pointed in the right direction the way some of the races in that series is going for me.
I think I made it 30, I think it's like the 20, 30 laps into the race. I was, again, following Pat, just kind of getting, trying to get into a rhythm. And Pat got a little bit loose coming out of 2, I believe. And then kind of stacked up behind us. And we caused a nice big one at Dover. And kind of blocked the track a little, and then that was my night. So I kind of made it, like I said, 20, 30 laps, but I definitely know coming out of 2 where, it was real bumpy coming out of 2, and it got really loose, and it was rough for sure.
Jake, it seems like there's a theme here that when you're behind Pat, bad things happen. I just kind of noticed that between the Xfinity recap and this one, you're like, I'm behind Pat, and then I wrecked, So maybe that's what the common denominator is here.
I don't know, but we'll figure it out here pretty soon.
Well, you're if you look on this list right here, you don't see Jacob Ellingson at all. Jake,
No, sir.
what do you got to do to get this thing back, get the train back on the tracks, man? Here in the Cruising Classic Series, you're down in 31st in points. We know you're better than that. You have to have a track, maybe get a win. Do you feel like you're in a must-win situation? Do you think you can still point your way in? What's your feelings for this particular series?
I'm definitely in a must-win situation in the next gen. In order to get that win, it's going to be a lot of luck. The next, 4 tracks that are coming up are definitely not my best. Atlanta, well, it being a kind of a drafting track now, that's a kind of a crapshoot on who's going to make it out on top. Indy, the Indy Oval, I'm really not too confident on tire saving there, so I kind of just want to have a good solid finish. I've never ran the next gens at Gateway, and then whoever keeps putting Darlington on the schedules, uh, we need to have a talk with that person, because that is, I can't stand that. If it's one track
Oh,
that I can't stand Darlington.
oh,
I finished one race out of uh, many seasons at GLR at Darlington, and I think I finished fifth in that one. Otherwise, I've never finished a Darlington race. So a little bit of a rough stretch for me over the next 4 tracks, but we'll try to get it together and try to get this win going.
Well, looking down the list here, I mean, Lucas has the best average finish, and he's been really good here in the next gen car in this series. So I think him and JJ Moore, JJ Moore has an average starting position of 20th, and he has the second highest average finish, and he has been up there battling, had a great battle with Ryan Pendleton
Yep.
at the end of this
Yep.
race. They had some words that they kind of went back and forth, but I think it was obviously just some hard races. Kind of one of those where the next day you kind of look back and go, okay, well, that was good hard racing, and they were fighting really hard. They're obviously disappointed that they didn't win. Is usually where that comes from. But I mean, JJ Moore, Jesse Whittington, Cody McElway now has kind of put himself in another echelon with the 2 wins, and then Logan Sturgeon there. But yeah, I mean, I think Jesse has been strong all season. I know he's really good in the next gen. He can definitely lay down some more wins and get it. So I mean, JJ Moore, Jesse Whittington seem like the non-usual drivers that we talk about. I think JJ is going to be a problem all the way to the Final Four. I think he is really good, and he has shown that all season. And then you go down the list of drivers that haven't got the win yet. Caustic, obviously, we know how good he is. Ryan Pendleton, a past champion, he will be up there battling to win. I believe he won this championship last season. Am I wrong?
Yes, Pat won last season.
Oh, Pat. So Pat.
Ryan, I believe.
He won
No,
the truck.
no, I was Yeah, he
Yeah,
won
he
the
won
trucks
Rodney truck. Yeah.
last season. But I believe it was season 2. Ryan won the championship.
Yeah, so we know he can get it done. Cunningham, you're right there in that 8th position, 21 above the cutoff. And Jake Collins, I watched the race the other night, and Jake Collins, man, he was being aggressive. He had a lot of speed. He was making moves. Maybe somebody to watch as well going forward. So there's a lot of drivers. You got those 7 of Patrick Dravick there, Necula, Tyler Justice, all right there that Dravick can get a win. He can get it done. So I think this one's very similar. It's going to be sort of a broken record as we continue on through these. As right now, it's not really clear who is a favorite in any series. I even with Cody winning 2 in a row, I wouldn't say he's a favorite. I think this series is just too competitive, and there's too many drivers out there who can get it done. So looking forward to seeing who as this series keeps going. But it's got a lot. It's sort of like the Sunday night series where it's got a lot of guys who are kind of specific to that series. JJ Moore, Jesse Whittington, Logan Sturgeon, they really just run the Wednesday night series. Jake Collins, I believe, is similar. So these guys just run this next gen series, and they're obviously extremely fast and can knock off some wins. But some of the best racing, I think, that goes on. Of course, you can watch that on Maconey Entertainment. But any more thoughts about this particular series before we move on?
None that I can think of.
I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction for this upcoming race here, though, is that Caustic locks his way in. And the reason that I say that is I think he's going to win it at Atlanta. Every time that we race there, he talks the entire time about how much he hates that place. And I've never seen somebody win at a racetrack that hates it so much more than he does at New Atlanta. So if he ends up winning, you heard it here first. That's my pick to win this week at New Atlanta.
Well, that'll be an exciting race. New Atlanta in the next gen car. It should be wild. So tune in to Maconey Entertainment for that one. That'll be worth watching for sure. We'll see who can get win number 2, or maybe win number 1, or if you're Cody, win number 3. Well, let's move on to the ARCA series. And of course, we've talked about this series multiple times because of the unique format of the Pro and Am division. And this week we did a little bit of road course racing in the ARCA car, and I didn't really know how this was going to go. Daniel, you weren't in this one, but me and Jacob were, and did not know how this race was going to go, how the ARCA car was going to drive. And I tell you what, it was a lot of fun. I had a great time in that race, and was able to race Patrick for a while. But we had Andrew Hennessy, first race of the season, come in, started in the back, and drove himself all the way up to the front, get the win in the pro division. And then Michael McCarthy gets win number 2 on the season in the amateur division. The ARCA car, the folks love to talk about the Xfinity series and the Xfinity car, but man, that ARCA car is just flat out fun. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Daniel, what do you think about the ARCA car? I know you're not racing in the series, but what do you think about that car?
Man, I don't think my opinion could be any different from yours on the ARCA car. I hate to say that, but like for whatever reason, man, I have never liked the ARCA car, and I hate to be all negative after you were just hyping it up there, but because it does put on good racing for what it's worth, regardless of my feelings towards it. But yeah, I've never been able to figure that thing out. I don't know. That's part of the reason why I don't race it. I just kind of hang out, or I'll spot for somebody on occasion. But even when I have, it does put on good racing, though. I got to give it that.
Well, to me, I think what it draws me to it is the fact that it's sort of a throwback car to old iRacing. Back in the day, and everybody starts to roll their eyes immediately. But early iRacing, there was a period of time where you drove like the COT time around 2010, 2011, where you drive the car down in the corner. It was so tight, you'd have to just ride the brake to get it to turn to begin with. And then once you get on the gas, you turn the steering wheel all the way to the right to about, 2 o'clock. As soon as you got on the gas, you were turning it over to about 2 o'clock to the right from the middle of the corner all the way off. And so you had to constantly work the steering wheel back and forth. It was insane. So much horsepower, 950 horsepower, or however many it had. Just a nuts drive, and all the cars drove like that. The old tire model was just weird how the oval cars drove. You were just, like I said, drive down. Even the B car, the what the ARCA car is now, was very similar. You drive down the corner, it was tight on entry. You get back on the gas, and you're just sitting here just doing this on the exit of the corner, pointing the steering wheel almost all the way to the right. It just felt completely just wrong. But that's the way that it was, and I feel like the ARCA car is sort of a throwback to that. It's a lot of wheeling it, using the steering wheel, the yaw of the car. When you watch the broadcast, you'll see that ARCA car still, the right rear sticks out further than the right front, and the yaw in that car just gives it such a weird feeling. If you drive the next gen car, it's stable, straight, it runs straight into the corner. But the ARCA car, it's almost like you feel like you're spinning out, but you're not. It's locked into the track. It's got a lot of grip, especially at the 1.5 miles and stuff. So it's just to me, it's a blast to drive, but maybe because that's kind of what I started iRacing on, and it's sort of kind of locked in the past in a certain way. But road course racing is something that I've picked up, wanted to try to be better. I think that's something that is oval racers, we kind of look at road courses like, well, there's 1 or 2 on the schedule. I don't care about that one. That'll be my drop week. But I've been trying to get better at it. And so this week, obviously no Caustic there, no Cody McElway there. That sure does help the situation. But Pat has been getting really, really good. Lucas Line was there. He laid down some really quick laps in practice. So I've been working on it, I've been running GT3s a lot, and I felt like, I don't know. It's hard to really compare because I don't run that many stock car road courses. But honestly, I felt like all the practice and work that I've been doing elsewhere has kind of paid off the other night. Got the pole, felt really fast. Normally at the road courses in the past, I felt like I just needed to stay on the track. That was my whole goal. Just don't come off the track. But in that race, I felt like I could really push it and drive the car hard. Really put a lot of pressure on the bus stop to try to gain as much time as possible, and was able to start on the pole and had a good first start to the race. Felt terrible for Lucas, who disconnected at as soon as the green flag dropped. He was gone, and he didn't come back at all. So Really bummed that we didn't get to race it out. I always like racing Lucas, but man, it was fun. I mean, Watkins Glen, obviously a fun track, slinging that car all the way around the track. And we had, I felt like a pretty good race up front. Made a couple mistakes, which is fine. You know, I have been running road courses in stock car, gonna make a mistake here and there, and I made one. I made two actually. And Andrew was coming no matter what. I said this in the interview. He was. I saw he was fast in practice, and then he drove. I have a little thing up on the screen that tells me everybody's lap times, and I could see he was second, maybe a half a second faster, pretty much the whole time. So I knew he was coming, and so I was constantly watching that. Made a mistake. He got by, and then I was trying to hold off Pat, and then I made another mistake, and then he got by me. Just could never get back around Pat. And a lot of credit to him. He was Patrick has made a huge stride in his road course ability.
Definitely.
It's been unreal how much better he is, and he's in his own echelon, I think, now versus where he was. He's extremely good, and I tried to put as much pressure on him at the end of the race to try to get that second position. And to his credit, he did not make not one mistake the whole time. And I laid it on him. I said in my head, I said, Patrick better pack a lunch because I'm coming, and I'm gonna put the pressure on him. And man, never made a mistake. So it was fun to race him. That was such a blast. I had a great time. But Jake, I don't think you had a great time in that race. I do remember going down the front stretch and you be sitting the wrong way as we crossed the start finish line. What happened? What happened to you in that race?
I was having a great time until I wasn't having a great time. I do like the road courses, especially Watkins Glen. I always love racing there. I'm not the fastest there. I don't understand how you guys do it, but I try to learn and try to get it a little bit better, each time we go there. I don't go out of my way to try to practice it, but I do enjoy it a lot. So I was just, trucking along, and then I just typical rookie mistake. I just gassed it up a little bit too early, coming out of the last turn to the start finish, and I just spun it out and felt that it was best just to tow the car right away and get out of everybody's way. And I think there was like 3-4 laps left in the race when that happened, and I just didn't want to whip it around in front of everybody, so I just towed back to the pits and called it a night.
Yeah, well, so Andrew Hennessy gets the win, well deserved. He was unbelievably fast and really didn't have much issue after he got around me. He was just cruising at that point, maybe saving a little bit of fuel. And then Michael McCarthy gets the win in the amateur division. So congratulations to him. But looking at the standings here, Mike George wasn't there. He wasn't there the other night. So. But he is locked in. He's got two wins. So he is going to be in good shape. Jake, of course, you've got the one win. You got Chance Taylor and Jonathan Cofield with wins as well. So a lot can happen in the pro division. I mean, you look down there, Timothy Wilms, George Jewell, who I'm going to tell y'all, George Jewell's another one that has really improved. He's come out of
Yes.
If there's maybe a runner-up GOAT of the week, George Jewell, I think it's just because of Shasta. I think Shasta in chat gives him that energy he needs to get better. He has been really fast. So I would not be surprised to see George Jewell be up there kicking butt towards the end of this one. He is definitely improved. And then on the amateur side, it is just as competitive. Tyler Justice has those 2 wins, so he is comfortably in. And you can kind of see that cutoff line down there, the top 8 drivers. So a little bit different than the other series where it's 12. These are only 8 per division. So I'm excited to see how this plays out. Honestly, it's going to be a cool ending to the season. I'm interested. The whole thing just is so compelling, in my opinion. So if you want something to watch, go over to NASDAQ 360 on Thursday nights and watch the Veteran for Life Foundation ARCA series, because this is going to be fun. It's going to be fun watching these two divisions fight it out. They're going to be racing within each other. Two playoffs happening at the exact same time. I've never seen that done. I'm excited to see kind of way that plays out, because I mean, right now it's very competitive. You got Kurtz, Lyons, Jamie Mullins, Brandon Wallace there on the cutoff for the pro side. Man, that could flip, turned upside down really quick. And then you've got Calvert, Jim Kaufman, Jeremiah Holt, and Ricky Sisk Jr. There on the amateur side. So not a lot of spots to have in the playoffs. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, McCarthy getting that second win, he's obviously feeling pretty confident. But I mean, what do y'all think about the Pro and Am division, especially going into the playoffs, where at the end of the series we're going to have two 4-car playoffs in the championship round in the same race?
It's going to be wild. We spent a long time in the off season trying to figure out how the playoffs were going to work with the Pro Am division, and it was pretty much exactly like what you said. We're going to have two playoffs at the exact same time and let it roll. But what's really surprising me about the ARCA series is that Andy Kurtz, 6 races in, still does not have a win on the season after he won of I think 4 races in a row, won 9 races total last season in the ARCA series, and he still had 6 races in, still hasn't had a win this season. That's really a concern for me to see if he can pull one off before the season ends. And on the amateur side of things, I see Jim Kaufman, right there, David Calvert's, barking on the door for a win. And then Johnny Cofield, in every series, I've seen him, start picking up the pace a little, in his qualifying. If he would step back and save a little bit of tire, I think his win is coming pretty soon too.
Yeah. Daniel, you have any opinions about it?
It's funny that Jake actually mentioned Andy Kurtz, because I was just sitting here thinking that I don't run the series, so I just kind of check in every now and then. And I saw that, I'm like, they had to put a bounty on the man last season because he was winning too damn much, and here he is 6 races in and he ain't got one yet. So I mean, that's surprising. And then even just I know that, like, from Jeremiah on up and on the amateur side, there's a little bit of a gap to the cutoff, but just looking how close those cutoff battles are in each division. I mean, you've got a tie for the last spot in the pro series, you got 1 point in the amateur series. So, and I think it's a really cool idea that they're doing with the split on that too. It was something when they first announced it, I was kind of curious how it was going to work, and how the splits would work and things like that. But yeah, it's a really cool idea, and especially having both of them going at the same time like that within one series.
Yeah, it's going to make for some exciting racing, maybe some frustrating racing for some of the guys. But I mean, if you look at the guys who have wins in both divisions, you can see well split. It seems like there's always a danger with these type of splits, is making and there's a lot of pressure on the admins, the ones who actually make the splits, because you got to do it right. You end up putting the wrong guy in the amateur division, and he dominates the amateur. And so far, that has been the case. You got 2 guys with 2 wins: Tyler Justice, Michael McCarthy. But you got Rusty Rafferty and Matt Knights there with 1 win. So it's competitive. And that you see David Calvert there with a lot of points, Jim Kaufman, Jeremiah Holt. So it seems like it was a really well placed, as far as placing drivers in each division. Seemed like they did a great job, because it seems to be pretty competitive on both sides. So, I mean, hats off to them. This is going to be probably the most exciting thing that I get to watch and pay attention to, just to see how it all plays out. It's just going to be wild. So, coming up this week is going to be Nashville Super Speedway. So that should be a fun race. Going to be interesting. Going to be some dirty air to be thinking about there. But the ARCA car can put on a pretty good show. Then we got New Hampshire, Texas, and Richmond. So a lot of good tracks for this car. A lot that can still happen. So we'll see how it all plays out. Right now, it's hard to Mike George has kind of been weird here lately. And weird, I mean, as in just Now, he started off really, really strong with all those polls and stuff at the early part of the season, but everybody's starting to catch up now. Cofield got to win. Jake, you've got to win. Chance got to win. And there's a lot of hungry guys on that pro side that can come in and kind of take control of this. So I'm interested to see what George get back on track, or what's going on with him, and get being back dominant in this series. But so far, it seems like it's kind of wide open at the moment. So we'll see how that plays out going forward this week at Nashville. So it should be a lot of fun. But we're running out of time. Golly, we could sit here and talk forever. But we got to keep going. So we got 2 more series to talk about. We got to talk about the Veterans for Life Racing Truck Series on Friday nights. And this one, golly, I don't know what y'all said in that dadgum meeting. I don't know what Jamie or Pat or whoever said, but they must have said the right thing, because to me, best race of the week. I honestly, dude, I'm production, so I have 2 announcers, 2 great announcers this week. Alec Martinez, Scott Shive did a great job. And honestly, during that race, I was sitting here like this the whole time, watching this race, going, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?" I was so locked into the race. It was so unbelievable. And it was very clean. Only 1 caution for 4 laps. So we had 1 caution after Bristol had, I think, 8+ or something like that. And Jamie Barkas gets the win, gets his first of the season. That was a fun one. Kind of going, the first thing I wanted to talk about, I don't know if y'all went back and watched the broadcast, but man, Jake Ham and David Duke had an unbelievable battle towards the end of that race. They were going after it. They were doing crossovers on each other, bumping and banging, leaning on each other. Obviously probably some aggravation towards the end, but just an awesome race to watch. Great drive by everybody. And like I said, Jamie Barkas there at the end just drove away from the field as those guys were just battling it out. But it seemed like tire wear was a big thing there, because if you fought at all, it seems like guys who really fought for positions. And a lot of times in Goat Locker, you'll see guys really, instead of letting somebody go, they really battle. And I think, Jake, you're one of those drivers. Pat's very similar in that way, where it seemed like you just hate to see a guy pass you. Oh, I don't want nobody to pass me. So I'm going to battle as hard as I can and burn my stuff up. And that seemed like if you did that at Dover this week, it really punished you. Is that what y'all saw?
Yeah. I'm one of them drivers who, like, I'm not going to roll over and let you go, but I will try to maintain speed while trying to let you go. But Dover this week it definitely was rough on the tires. Tire wear was extremely high with the track conditions and everything that played into it, and it was definitely fun while it lasted.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot different than what I'm used to at Dover, especially for the truck. Like that last green flag run that we had, I was actually up running. I was almost running like a Larson line, but he don't even run the high line at Dover. It was almost like you could really see where the track was starting to rubber in. You could kind of put your right rear up against it, almost like you're running a cushion, and really make that high groove work. But yeah, it was a blast, especially once we got a little bit farther into the runs. And you definitely hit the nail on the head, though, Eddie. There was a lot of people that early on in the race, I just kind of let them go. I'm like, I can see that they are, absolutely wheeling this thing right now. Give it about 10 laps or so, and I'll see you on the other side of it. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of that going on, and kudos to the field. There was a lot more give and take going on. Kind of like Jake mentioned, there wasn't people just rolling over, but it wasn't, a lot of pinching people down and dive bombing and stuff like that. People were being a lot more deliberate about trying to set up runs and stuff like that. So definitely helped out what Jamie, little pep talk he gave us.
Well, I'm gonna step on you a little bit, because you finished 3rd on the race, but you started 17th. So bull crap letting folks go, man. You were driving up through there. You seemed like you were obviously saving tire better than everybody else, and you're able to just kind of pick them off. And there at the end, I even feel like you had maybe a race winning strategy at one point. I mean, caution, I think, kind of maybe messed you up. I mean, do you feel like you had the ability to go up there and win?
I don't even remember what my strategy was that I was on now. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like the biggest thing that's honestly screwed me over in a lot of races is I just suck at qualifying, man, and I don't know what changes between the steering wheel and the driver's seat between practice to qualifying. But I mean, I think I was like second or third overall in practice on speed. I felt good. I was like, man, I had a chance to go out here and run well tonight. And then when I started 17th, I'm like, well, that that kind of screws things up a little bit. So yeah, and I mean, even the last run, which I'm sure Jamie probably wasn't going 100% given the lead that he had and everything like that, but even in dirty air, kind of behind some other guys, I was still a lot of laps. I was a tenth and a half faster, or at the very least, I was matching his lap time. So, you know, could I have gotten around him if I got there? It's hard to say. Um, but I feel like I could have at least kept pace and maybe put some pressure on to try to force a mistake, which was easy to do with the way it was driving.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, man, y'all. Yeah, I mean, kudos to everybody on the Friday Night Truck Series. It was such a fun race to watch. I mean, the battles. There was a couple times where cautions could have happened. Guys made really nice moves to not wreck the field. That's what we need here. I mean, we need guys who to race hard. We want folks to race hard, but if you get loose in you're trying to catch it and it means you're going to lose 3 or 4 spots, just lose the 3 or 4 spots. That's the kind of thing you need to have happen. And damn it if the other night that wasn't the case. Folks were racing hard, guys get a little bit loose, they wouldn't wreck the field, they'd lift off the gas, let folks go. It was just an overall, I mean, couldn't have been a better race. Hopefully we can maintain that, because it shows when the drivers drive like that, the racing is just unbelievable. It's through the roof, and that's what happened. I mean, Jake Ham and I've said it already, but Duke battle. If you haven't watched the broadcast, you didn't go see it, go back and watch the end of that race where Jake Ham and David Duke were battling. Such a fun battle.
Yeah.
They were really getting after it. It's worth the watch. And Alec and Scott had a great call during that time as Barkus just kind of drove off into the sunset. But looking at the standings here, nobody really sticks out as being, I could call out the winners here, but honestly, it doesn't tell the tale in this series. Everybody on the whole screen is competitive.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, what you don't see is I don't see Jacob Ellingson at the moment. So that should scare you even more, because we know, Jake, you're a playoff driver. You can definitely go out and win championships, and currently you're not even on the screen. So that tells you, look at how competitive it is. Only 18 points Jake Ham has over the cutoff. That's nothing in that series, and then it's just a tight points battle all the way down. And we have 6 different winners in that series. So again, another series with a different winner every week. Nobody's dominating. I just can't tell y'all how crazy it is to see this. We have 5 different series here in Goat Locker, and they're all this competitive, where there's multiple winners. There's 5-6 different winners in each series, and that's crazy to think about. I don't think I can overstate that enough about how crazy it is that each week there's not this guy's definitely going to win, or this guy, this person is won 3 or 4 races and everybody else is trying to follow. It's not like that. And over 5 different series, you don't see that anywhere. So it definitely is worth to be celebrated. The drivers obviously have a big part in that, but I think it's just maybe the culture that is kind of around here that brings these type of drivers in, that we can have racing this competitive. And of course the soapbox is there, so it does get heated from time to time, but just unbelievable. I mean, talk a little bit about the racing so far in the truck series. And like I said, to this point, I have no idea who's the favorite.
It's really hard to nail it down who the favorite is, and even to your point, with how many different series have 5 or 6 different winners, it's not the same 5 or 6 guys in every series.
Yep.
I mean, there's some crossover because you've got so many guys that do run every week or every league or most of them. But you've got Jake's got to win in 1 or 2 series. He doesn't in a couple others, and you've got Cody's won in a bunch of them. I think this is the only series that Howie's got to win, but I think this might be the only one that he runs. I can't remember offhand, but I mean, it's just, you're right. There's so many really good drivers in all of the series, but especially this one. Like there's a reason why this is the one that we pay to run in. Just thinking off the top of my head, I mean, it wouldn't surprise anybody if Craig won a race. If looking below the cutoff line, it wouldn't surprise anybody if Mike George or Jesse, Jake, Caustic isn't on that list he's not on the graphic. I mean, there's legitimately 20 guys that could win a race, and it's not surprising. And this is one of the few series that I've ever raced in where I can say that there's that many people that could legitimately go out and win every week.
Yeah, definitely. To kind of piggyback off of you with a little bit more, everybody's just a few positions away from changing this whole graphic, upside down. I mean, it's wild. All Jesse needs to do is finish, 5 spots ahead of Goshen, and then now Goshen's out, and then Charlie's out. Tons of things can happen. But as far as like my season going into the Premier Trucks, you got to finish a race to have a shot at winning one. So I'm 0 for 6 on the season for that. But it's good to race with the GLR guys, and at least stay in the race and help out Jamie and Pat, because Jamie was razor focused, at Dover, and it was a blast listening to him and watching the race, listening to the call on the race too, while helping him out for the rest of that night. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's an unbelievable race. So looking forward to the next race, which is Watkins Glen. Gonna go do a little bit of road course racing if you're nasty. So, that we're gonna try to get out of here. We've taken up a whole lot of time going through this, and I appreciate everybody that if you stuck around and watched the whole thing. Bless your heart. I don't know. One day we're gonna get it down to an hour. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but one day we're going to get it done where it's not taking all night to get through this. But I want to talk about the NVEX Truck Series. David Duke currently sits atop the standings. Benjamin Stevens did get the win this week, and I went back and watched a little bit of that race, and it was a pretty solid race from start to finish. So Benjamin Stevens now has 2 wins, but that series just as competitive as the others. They've continued to put on a really good show, trying to get that why it's so hard to navigate. There's so many dang channels in this Discord, but looking here, I mean, right now Garner has 2 wins, Brett Bieber has 1, David Duke has 1, and then Benjamin Stevens now has 2 after 6 races. You've got a lot of guys who could win. Jim Kaufman's up there. Andrew Player, Brandon Wallace, Chance Taylor, Mike McCarthy has been doing really well. And then George Jewell again kind of pops up there and has done some really good things on Sunday night. So Sunday night's been a really competitive series too. It's just another one. It's unbelievable how good they are. But David Duke currently has the points lead. And Chance Taylor, though, he's got the best average finish in 5th so far, but still without that win. So be looking out for Chance Taylor to get that dub. I know he's like to get into victory lane. He keeps starting outside the top 10, though. That might be maybe a little Daniel Cunningham need to qualify a little bit better. But it's funny how that works. It's just I don't know. It's so hard to I'm trying to do two things at once. It's hard to a couple things. I don't want to really pinpoint you, Daniel, but we've been talking about you and not qualifying well, but also aggression on restarts. What is it? What's your thought process going into a restart? What do you think? You've been working on to try to get better at being more aggressive on restarts. Is it just your racing style? What do you think has been the problem? And what have you tried to do to to change that here?
I think one of the biggest things I could do is take a look at some of my teammates' restarts with Lucas Lyons, because I don't think that there is anybody. Hell, there might not be anybody on iRacing that's more aggressive on restarts than Lucas is. I've told him a ton of times he reminds me of Kyle Busch when he was at Hendrick Motorsports. He is fast everywhere he goes, and sometimes he's just a little overzealous, we'll say. But when he eventually puts it all together, because he's going to, he's going to rattle off a ton of wins and win a lot of races. But yeah, I mean, that's I think just the overall aggression is probably one of my biggest struggles, and probably the biggest area that I need to get better at, is just finding where that line is and getting more comfortable with running that line. But yeah, I feel like that's something I have got better at throughout this season, is just knowing, when is the time to push. Like, we get the initial restart of the race or initial start of the race. All right, just kind of fall in line, if the opportunity's there, but don't push it. But start getting down inside 10 laps to go, then it's time to throw them up on the dash and see what you can do. So, yeah, it's still a work in progress. That single lap speed is something that's been haunting me since I started iRacing. So, hey, but if anybody's watching, anybody's listening, my inbox is open for suggestions. Cash App's open for tips and tricks if you're a hot lap hero, because I definitely need a little bit of help with that.
Well, I mean, we all got stuff to work on, that's for sure. And I tell you, you gotta love sim racing, man. It's too much fun. We have a blast racing in this series. I've been glad to be able to jump in and run the ARCA series this year. I've been missing racing with Goat Locker. Y'all have got me broadcasting all the daggum time that I haven't been able to get out on track and race with y'all. So yeah, it's been really awesome to get out there and run some of that. It's about the only oval stuff I do these days. Just today I spent pretty much today's my off day, and I ran probably 4 official GT3 races today. Barcelona, fun track to run a Mustang around, so I had a good time. But yeah, glad to be out there running the ARCA series. Hopefully, I don't know if I've got enough races that I can make the cutoff for the playoffs, but I'm excited to continue.
You do.
Oh, I do? Oh, okay.
You
Well,
do.
we'll see if we can get up there and maybe race a little bit for a championship. That's going to be a tough series I'm just happy to race and be out there just having a good time with y'all. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, been good racing all season. This week, one of the better ones. Just unbelievable. If you haven't gone back and watched the broadcast, definitely worth a watch. I think they've all been really, really good. So go check out V-Speed, McConey Entertainment, and also Nazar 360. That's where the broadcasts are. As always, we kind of threw out an announcement saying, hey, we need you guys. We need those that are watching right now. Obviously, if you want to comment, like on this particular podcast, that's fine. But the broadcasts of our races, we really want to get those out there. So if you haven't gone and clicked like on all Goat Locker broadcasts each week, please go do that. I'm not asking for anything for V-Speed or anything in particular. I want all of them to have a bunch of likes, because anything that's got Goat Locker and it's got a bunch of likes, it has the potential to show up on searches when people search for things, and it can actually get some more viewers that come and watch these races, and we definitely want to do that. So if you can do it, if you don't mind, subscribe to both all three, V-Speed, McConey, and Nazar, if you're not already. And then please go on there and click like on the races each week. We need them every single week. We need to get 20 to 30 likes on each broadcast if we can. And then if you can throw a comment on there, any kind of engagement is big, especially when we're trying to bring in sponsors. The sponsors want those metrics. They want to see that their investment in Goat Locker is paying off as far as their advertisements go. So let's help them out. Let's make our sponsors happy. Let's do things that help them. They do so much for Goat Locker. They're helping and aiding and giving those sim rigs and all the things that go along with the nonprofit. All the stuff that Pat is doing, taking the sim rig to these events, all these different things to try to get Goat Locker out there. If all we got to do is click a like button to help and maybe type in a comment, say, great job, pick a driver, a great win, whoever it was, to help get those engaged, help our sponsors, please do that. That's all we're asking. Not much, just a little bit of your time, 5 minutes at most. So if you don't mind doing that, that would be great. But anyway, we're gonna get out of here. Sorry we kept you so long. We'll figure this part out. I don't know. Maybe we won't. Maybe they'll just be an hour 45 minutes and screw it. But thanks, Jake, for being here. Thanks. I think he had to run down the street to get on. He wanted to be on so bad he didn't have any power at his house, so he jumped on here. And so we appreciate you, and then Daniel for coming on. Dan, man, appreciate you coming on. Tell us about yourself and giving us your thoughts and opinions. They're definitely appreciated. So thank y'all for watching. Everybody in the chat, thank y'all so much for commenting. It was really active tonight, so we definitely appreciate that. But we're gonna get out of here. We'll catch you guys later, and we'll see where we at. We got Xfinity Series tomorrow night on V-Speed. So come out and check that out. That'll be a good race. Excited to see how that one plays out. Always thank all the sponsors out there. And actually, I'm going to go down that list just to waste even more time. I wouldn't say it's wasting time, but just to take up more time for no reason. And I literally can't find it. This is great. There's so many channels here. Oh, there it is. They moved the channel. Want to thank Lincoln Tech. Just they kind of get brushed over. And I think that's maybe my fault. But they are the sponsorship for every single series. They're the sponsor of the fall series. So Lincoln Tech, big shout out to them. Want to thank Hidden Wit Brewery, Cruising Classics, Nasty's Restaurant and Bar, Veterans for Life Foundation, Veterans for Life Racing, Invets, Jam Printing and Promotions, McConey Setup Shop, V-Speed, Nazareth 360, Indiana Department of Veteran Affairs, Alexander's PCs, Sim Motion, Next Level Racing, iRacing, and Above the Yellow Line. All of our sponsors, definitely appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for watching. And the 99 is terrible.